Manja managing partner at Bendel Greenhook's European debt business. We founded the business in 2012 and since raised about 7 billion of capital to deploy in real estate lending in the UK and Europe. Look, it was an interesting and quite lively discussion, which was great. We spent some time sort of discussing the distress in the market, where's the distress coming from, and I think it was interesting to hear sort of a more global perspective, what we're seeing in the US, with some of the loan sales and the discounts which are being translated in the market, but then equally in Europe, where, well, I think people still kind of waiting a little bit, what's there to come. I think we believe there should be more distress coming in the system, but we haven't quite seen it yet translate. I would say also how it's different between the asset classes, obviously office being one of them. In the US, pretty negative sentiment. In Europe, we can already start seeing offices being traded, debt capital being there for that. And I think that's also a little bit in terms of bifurcation in the market for debt capital. Obviously, with the debt capital session, we talked a bit about the banks, and it seems, at least in Europe, they are there, still driven by regulation, but to a much more limited extent as they have been, and that's really been opening the doors for alternative lenders even more so to be competitive in that space. We really focus more sort of on the whole loan side, and particularly in the transitional space. We like that particular angle in that niche sector, sort of value creation, supporting sponsors and their business plans. And that's, from a new construction, new development to repositioning or a lease up. And I think what's interesting and also kind of goes a bit to what I said before, since banks haven't been as active, we of course also see way more core plus financing requests, which is quite interesting for us because historically perhaps our capital wasn't as competitive, whereas now it is. And I think also from sort of the market environment, what's coming more into play, we can provide some mass and higher leverage situations or solutions. And I think here really recap situations we've been seeing more, which are quite interesting. Relationships are key. I think I've been doing this for a while, and it kind of seems to be going back to one of these things, being a partner, being reliable. And also I think it's very important these days to not kind of be too specialized in what you're doing. Being open to flexible debt equity solutions is key, being nimble, fast. And I think there is definitely a place for capital like ours. And, I'm a strong believer that we will work in the future alongside banks and provide capital in the market. I think there is capital available for certain sectors. Some sectors, of course, are harder. Certain business plans are harder. Clearly, where a sponsor needs refinance, often perhaps the capital they need to inject is not available, or even where they plan to hold it, they need more capital for carry cost. So I think there will be a lot of opportunity for flexible capital solutions. And again, it's perhaps more of an interplay between debt and equity. And I think we as lenders really need to focus on where does debt end, where does equity risk start. And I think there will be discussions around this. But from my perspective, I think where we see capital returning to the market, we discussed in the session as well, for certain situations, bank capital is available. It may be not as cheap as it used to be, but again, numbers can make sense, and so I'm having a positive outlook. Clearly, it is a key element. I think with the sentiment that we expect rate cuts, I think sponsors moving towards sort of a new norm of underwriting, and that should help arguably stabilize the market somewhere with cap rates stabilizing or moving in certain sectors. So that will drive transaction volume. So in my mind, that is definitely helpful. We've seen some of it come through already, where I think there's more positive sentiment and investors feeling it might be, again, the right time to buy. I think it is improving. I'm not saying we are there yet. I feel these initiatives are important from a networking perspective. And so very grateful for GRI to host this and put this on. We are very happy to sponsor it at BGO. For us, it's a very big topic on our corporate agenda. And, we are not only talking about it, we are living it. So I would be hopeful that we're moving in the right direction.